Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Happy Christmas Eve. And if you are a Seinfeld fan, happy Festivus. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 90 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here, we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing, highlighting that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can join our Facebook group by searching on Facebook, Life Transformation Radio Community, and never miss an episode by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. You can subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, Himalaya app, Google Podcasts, Pandora, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Transformation Radio. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing people impacting the world around them. And my guest today does exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show during our live broadcast, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you can go ahead and give us a call, 657-383-1109. Go ahead and give us a call and ask us any of those burning questions about the content of this episode. With that, please have a welcome to the show. My guest for today, Carol Rickard. Carol, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Oh, thanks, Sean. I'm very happy to be here with you.
I am super excited to have you on the show. I think what we're going to talk about today is extremely relevant. And just because it's close to Christmas Eve or Christmas, the stress doesn't end there. It's afterwards too. Leading into the new year, I think the stress really starts around like maybe middle of October, because then you got Halloween, and then you've got Thanksgiving, and then you got Christmas, and then you got New Year's, and it's from October all the way to January that is just completely stressful for people. Because this time of the year doesn't really pop up, and they're like, oh, my gosh, it's October. Oh, crap. Oh, man, what are we going to do? You know, and they wait all year, and then they try to pack in all the stuff that they should have done throughout the year. My wife has been telling me for months, like, you know what, we need to keep shopping at, like, February, March, April. We need to hit the sales. We need to hit the thing. Like, yeah, but I don't know what the kids want, like, in March for Christmas. I mean, nobody knows what they want, but I know people that they shop every paycheck, little by little, and then they don't have to go out and shop a whole lot because they've already got the stuff. You know, they're thinking about it throughout the year. So the title of this episode is Manage Holiday Stress, and I'm excited to have you on the show to talk about that.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited, and you're absolutely right. I think October, and I think for some people even before October this year. I don't know about you, but I even noticed the Christmas stuff out before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So
September. I saw it beginning of September, end of August, beginning of September, Christmas stuff in the stores. I'm like, wow, that's fast.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right in that, you know, kind of all, I don't know, some people do better with deadlines and they kind of thrive off of that stress, but it also comes at a cost. And that cost is usually our health.
So true.
The other thing that I found, Sean, is that what ends up happening is that sometimes people, depending upon their lives, are just so used to operating in this like super stressed out state that they don't even realize that how stressed out they are. Maybe until they get sick or they end up blowing up on the people that are closest to them. And so it either spills out or it just stays in and it makes people sick.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Oh, I've seen that.
And I have a word for that. I actually call it stress blindness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I've, because I spent 30 years working in hospitals teaching stress management. And so most of the people I worked with, stress was a contributor to the reasons why they ended up in the hospital, whether it was for heart, related stuff or other stuff. And so I kind of developed this little quiz that they would take just to realize that this isn't normal. Our bodies can't do this.
Right. Yep, that's true. Yep, and we're going to dive deeper into that, but I want to know more about Carol Rickard. So she is America's ultimate stress expert, has been teaching stress management in hospitals for nearly 30 years. In addition to the 25 books published, she has been a featured expert in other publications, including Reader's Digest, Dr. Oz's The Good Life, and Woman's World magazine. Carol is also a stage 3 cancer survivor who knows firsthand the enormous amount of stress that can show up unexpectedly in life and how important it is having the right tools and strategies to help manage that stress so it does not negatively impact your health, your relationships, and your success in life. She has spoken and conducted trainings for organizations including the New Jersey State Police, Princeton University, Catholic Charities USA, and U.S. Department of Energy. She's the creator and co-host of a nationally syndicated wellness series called The Well You Show, which is based out of Princeton Community Television. Her Facebook and LinkedIn link is right there in the show notes. You can connect with her on your favorite podcast platform and then send her a friend request letting her know that you listened to this episode of Life Transformation Radio. Carol, the first question I have to ask, and I believe is the most important question you could ask yourself, is why? Why do you do what you do?
Well, you know what? That takes me all the way back to when I was 14 years old. And I overheard a conversation that I wasn't supposed to hear. And I figured out that my father was dying from cancer. And of course, I grew up in one of those families where we didn't talk about things. So what I didn't do was tell. What I did, I started stealing alcohol. And so the alcohol at 14 years old became my way of just dealing with the overwhelming stress. And, luckily it didn't stay one of my major stress tools for a long time. But when I got out of college, then it became food. And honestly, Sean, I like to say is my higher power put me to work in a psychiatric hospital so I could learn first how to get well myself and then how to teach others. And that's kind of been my life's work, is giving people the tools that they need to just be able to, kind of master the stress, because stress is going to be there. We can't get away from it. I kind of take the philosophy that it's there, so let's kind of manage it instead of it managing us.
For sure. And I think I just believe that everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
And it we may not like the answer to that or where it came from, but you had to hear that conversation. Yeah. Your father was dying of cancer. That had to happen. Stealing the alcohol had to happen. Going to work at a psychiatric hospital had to happen. I don't think anything is coincidence. Everything happens for a reason.
I agree.
And we
with
can find
100.
meaning in everything, right? We can
Yep.
find meaning in everything. So you look back at the last 30 years and you can see kind of where it directed your steps, where you knew, like, wow, I was at the right place at the right time. I just think that that's how it's supposed to go.
I agree 100% with you. And in fact, it was last October when I was diagnosed with uterine cancer. And I immediately felt like I had been given a new assignment. You know, how could I help people deal with the stress of cancer if I'd never, ever, ever had to experience that myself? And, you know, interestingly, I had surgery, you know, kind of they thought that they got everything. And then on the follow-up found out that it had spread. And so I actually had to go on for some additional treatment, like as in chemotherapy. And I just remember thinking to myself, well, this makes sense, because really, if I'm going to be able to help and let people know that this works, I got to put it to the test.
Yeah.
And so that's, you know, that's what I really feel like I've, you know, kind of been put here to do, and what I'm committed to really kind of giving people that power that they actually have, but they don't really know that they do.
Love it. Love it. You know, we're always being tested all the time. And I've heard this for years, but it wasn't until I learned more about stress and how to handle it, because I never really handled things well. I don't know if I just wasn't equipped, but I mean, I've heard these things all the time. But life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. That's what I've heard for a long time. Different books I've read, podcasts, even when I was, you know, in my teens and you know, joining the military at 18. They always said, like, man, it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. I'm like, oh, whatever, that's stupid. You know, and they're like, well, you're proving our point. You know, like, you're not reacting very well, right? But we're always tested, and it seems like you proved that already. Is that you've been teaching this for a long time, and then now you got to go and here, everybody, look, I'll model it for you. Here's my situation. I'm going to model it for you.
Yeah. And you know what's really interesting, Sean, is that I also learned, you know, years ago in the hospital, we all know that stress is bad for our health, and yet research has shown that 80% of people don't do anything about it. And
right.
And for my patients, you know, this was kind of life and death situations, and so I actually started to approach it a little bit differently. And, you know, in fact, 18 years ago, I would tell you that 18 years ago, I still did not deal with stress very well. In fact, I landed in my doctor's office 3 weeks in a row with horrible migraines. And it was the first time it happened to me. In the third visit, the doctor said to me, Carol, what's got you so stressed out? And I realized, and honestly, I was quite embarrassed, because here I was teaching my patients, but I wasn't really able to manage my own stress, so much so that I was, you know, ending up with these migraines. And that led to an accidental discovery, which, again, I agree with you, nothing sort of accidental. And what I did was, I didn't have a lot of time. I was one of those people, you work in a hospital, you don't get to control number of patients that come in, who calls out sick. And I had no time. Like if I ate lunch, I ate it at my desk. You know, I'm sure a lot of people could relate to that when you've been busy at work, and I couldn't get outside to, you know, get some fresh air, go for a walk. So I started using the tools I was teaching my patients for just 60 seconds. And guess what happened? It worked. I was able to actually stop the migraines, and I just realized that I had this method that would really work for anybody, because it gives you the power in the moment. You know, going to the gym at 6 o'clock when I got off work, the migraine would hit me at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I would never make it. And so I actually call it stressometry, because it gives us the ability to do something right in the moment when you feel that, you know, that level just starting to rise. And we can do something right then and there. So there's anytime, anywhere we can actually take action.
Amazing.
Yeah. To make this point, imagine that I handed you a soda bottle of root beer, right? I handed you a liter of root beer and you shook it up, what would happen to the root beer in the bottle?
It fizzes all over the place, I guess.
Well, the pressure is going to build up inside that bottle, right?
Right.
And I don't know if you've ever, opened a bottle. You opened up the lid and you just ended up with a mess.
All over the place. Yep.
And so that's kind of the one of the ways I get people to see stress is that life shakes us up and the pressure starts to build up inside of us, and it will reach the point where we will either explode because we can't hold anymore, or we implode, people like me who would end up getting migraines or getting sick. And so the secret is you got to do something to stop the pressure from rising, and then you got to do something to let it out. So if this, and I think that's where, all of us have been taught stress management, right? Whether we got it on school or in work, and that's what's led to, unfortunately, a lot of people not being able to be successful because it really only teaches you the one step, which is, all right, you're in an argument, right? You're in a heated argument, walk away. Well, what I discovered is that if you don't walk away and then do something active, meaning requiring muscles, right, or energy, eventually you're going to go home and it's going to spill out on your wife or your kids or whoever's at home. And so we have to really take action in order to get the bottle to go and just let a little bit out at a time, if that makes sense.
Yep. I'm reminded of a story that so I'm a resilience trainer, and I teach all over the country about resilience and soft skills. And I'm reminded of a story about a professor who grabbed a glass of water that was half full or half empty, depending on your optimism or pessimism, and grabbed the glass and said, "How much does this glass weigh? What's in this glass? How much does it weigh?" And everybody was thinking like, "Oh, it's half empty, it's half full." Some people said, "Well, 4 ounces because it's an 8-ounce glass." No, it's a 10-ounce glass, 12-ounce glass, whatever. And they said, the weight doesn't matter, but how long I hold it does. See, you're the cup, and the weight of the world, the stress, is the water. And as I hold this cup, I can hold it for a minute. Doesn't seem to bother me. I hold it for an hour or 5 hours, or if I hold it for more than that, it starts to weigh me down. The longer I hold it, the harder it is on my body. So if I hold it for a couple hours, my arm might get tired. It may go to sleep. If I hold it for a day, my arm may feel paralyzed. And that's what happens when we hold in our stress and our worry, is we hold it for a minute and it doesn't really bother us. But the longer we hold our stress in, the longer that we hold our worry in, the worse it is on our body and eventually paralyzes people.
Yeah, I love that. I'd never heard that, and I absolutely agree 100%. You
can totally use it.
Yeah, it's a super great visual. The other way I get people to see stress, because again, to me, what works, you got to figure out what works for you. But one of the other ways I teach people to think about stress is like laundry. In fact, this was the first sort of analogy I ever came up with 30 years ago. And I said to, my patients, imagine, you have a pile of laundry and you're too busy that weekend to take care of it. So, it's up to your knees and you just say, I'll get back to it. I'll do it later. And then next weekend rolls around and now it's up to your waist and you say, oh my God, I can't, I don't have time to do this, or the energy or the effort. So you don't. And then, so I make them stand, close their eyes, and imagine looking at a pile of laundry as tall as you are. How would you feel? And what would you do? And right on cue, one of my ladies in the back room, it was an addiction unit, said, I'd throw them all in the garbage and go buy some more. And I thought, perfect. I said, that's exactly what you'll do to your recovery. you'll throw it in the garbage. And I said, stress is the same way. You don't do anything
Wow.
about it. You can hide it, right? I can hide my bills, but that doesn't mean they're going anywhere. And
that means you get paid.
And I say, so really, I'm going to challenge you all to do at least one load of stress laundry. Sometimes you might have to do more than that. And it's that same kind of thing. When we let it pile up is when it really does that damage for us.
That is an amazing visual.
Yeah.
That is an amazing visual.
I actually created little postcards, and so when I would do, live, programs in the community, I have these little postcards, and I actually figured out how to put them on the internet, and so that people could actually go download them. And it's a little postcard, and it says "Stress Away Laundry Detergent." And then you flip it over on the back, and it's got a whole bunch of different ideas for you to do. And and moms, anybody that has kids know that your laundry can really pile up really super fast. And so you don't want to lose control of that. And I kind of find the same way with stress. We don't want to lose control of it as the day goes on, because for me, that's what would ultimately lead to the migraines.
Mm-hmm. So the show is all about transformation and how we ourselves are transformed, as well as how we have the ability to transform others. You mentioned your why goes all the way back to 14 years old. What would you say in this time is a transformational moment for you that changed you and put you on the path to what you're doing today?
I have to tell you, the one moment that really transformed me was, I'd have to say it was in August of 1989. In fact, August 19th. And I, believe it or not, for a number of years, I mean, I love to teach. I love to give people coping skills, but I probably myself was probably one of the most negative people you would have met. In fact, if you'd asked me, I would say, well, what's good about it, kind of thing. The example, the glass, I would have said, yeah, it's half empty. And what ended up happening was I found out that morning that my mom had cancer, and I'd taken her to the hospital and put her in the hospital, and they kept her overnight. And I'd made all of these plans these days to get her back to California. So I live in New Jersey, and I had to drive her back to California. And what ended up happening was it really was this transformational moment for me, because my mom passed away that night. And in that instant, I realized that the only day that we really have is today. And doesn't matter what we plan for tomorrow, but you better live life today and be in today. And ever since that moment, it just completely changed, my outlook, and, just realizing that, wow, here, I thought I had all these things worked out. And the truth is, we're never promised tomorrow. If I wake up, it's a good day, right? But we're not promised that. And so it really transformed, my life, and then really how I could share that even more with patients that I was working with in the hospital.
Holy smokes. So your mom and dad were both dying of cancer?
Yeah. My dad, when I was 14, my mom when I was actually 27.
And then you had cancer?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Do you have any siblings?
I do, and a couple of them have had to deal with cancer as well.
Seems like a family thing.
Well, cancer definitely, has that genetic component to it. And so I think, for me, my sister is a breast cancer survivor. my mom, unfortunately, my mom and my dad just, lived so many years ago where we didn't have really the kind of treatments that we even have today.
Mm-hmm. Well, the reason I say that is because a few months ago, I had somebody on the show that I thought was incredibly intriguing and something I've never heard of before. But she is and I can't remember exactly what it's called, but she's like a generational healer. She's like, I pretty much get rid of your curses. I'm like, what? That's a thing? She goes, oh, yeah. So, why I asked if you had siblings is because you said your mom and dad, and then you. I'm like, I wonder if she has any siblings. Boom. Siblings had cancer as well. I wonder if you and the siblings have any children, and they may have cancer. So if it's like a generational thing, I mean, I know genes and everything else, but now that I hear this, I'm like, maybe she was onto something. Because I was like, I've never heard of this. Like, what is this thing? And she was just telling me about how she can go back and clear out the family stuff, and people have stopped getting cancer. Like the next generations don't have that problem, and I found it so intriguing. And then months later, we're having a conversation about almost the same exact thing.
Yeah.
No,
cool. It is pretty amazing to me. I have to say, I've never heard of quite the
never
person.
Heard of that either.
But it also kind of makes sense to me in a way as well. And I have a very different attitude and I guess philosophy about cancer, and that is that I honestly think that for a lot of people it's kind of the physical manifestation. It's like showing up physically in our bodies, but there's more emotional to it. And whether that's from generations ago, I don't know, but I know for myself, I was a pretty healthy person, but there was one place in my life that I really wasn't living optimally, and it kind of went back to my losses, and that was I was a very disconnected person. Like, give you a quick example, I would have brothers or even really good friends that I would, not talk to for months, maybe even a couple years. But when we kind of got on the phone and we caught up, it was like, we were just talking yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I really saw the cancer is kind of my sign that was, I think of that as a survival tool. Those are the things that we learned to help us survive back when we didn't know any better, or even today, right? People do things that don't make sense, but they do it in order to survive that experience. And for me, that was kind of the sign that, you know what, Carol, you got to kind of reach out to people, let people in. And so immediately I actually called my sister in California and invited her and paid for her to fly out to the East Coast to be here for my surgery. Whereas the old me would have said, I'm not going to bother any family. I don't need them to be here with me. Kind of that,
right.
At 14, I really became an adult at 14 because then my mom got really sick after my dad died. And in fact, so much so that one summer I even had to save her own life with CPR. And so I became that parentified child, right? And that's what I carried into my adult life. And that to me was the lesson that cancer was teaching me. Like, no, Carol, you can't be disconnected from people. You need to be a part of things. And ever since then, I've just really appreciated that, that lesson for me. And I've heard many other people talk about they've seen their cancer as a gift, as to what it really brought them in their life to look at and to see and to prioritize. And I think it gets back to what you said, Sean, about how you kind of what you see, and what you do with it can make or break things.
Yep, for sure. So the holiday stress. I wanna start off as we go into really what I call the mega holidays, right? So you got Thanksgiving, and then you got about a month until Christmas, and really the holiday season, shopping season, really starts like that Black Friday. But I think some people react well to it. Some people have a plan. Some people with OCD, maybe they got a plan. Especially in a pandemic, it was kind of tough, going to stores and seeing a lot of people, and everyone's trying to shop, and you got a lot of people shopping online, and everybody's trying to get on Amazon, and then the post office is slow, and it's just stressful. I don't feel like, and my wife might say different, but I think I handle holiday stress well, more than I do regular stress. Like, if we get a flat tire, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, I'm freaking out. Like, I got places to go. But I think I understand why people are so stressed out against the holidays. You got to get the gifts for this person, and this person is like, this, my daughter's bringing a boyfriend or a new husband home, or it's the first Christmas with the new baby, or there's all this like new stuff. It's I got to get a present for this person because I haven't seen this person, and then they're coming over to the house this time for Christmas. So, you think you're done, and then I hear that most people finish their holiday shopping on Christmas Eve, like last minute gifts. Can you imagine if nothing was open on Christmas Eve? People would lose their minds. So how do we go into the holidays and not lose our minds?
Well, I think, one, you got to be open to change. And the one thing I'm always been an advocate of is that I could never tell a patient of mine what they needed to do. So I always start with the question, is what you're doing working for you? And you got to be honest, because like you said, for some people like yourself around the holidays, it is. And for other people, it might not. And then it's really kind of being open to that change. I always used to say, I can give my patients the tools, but I can't make them use them. But I think if you're open to change, then starting just really, really small, so that it's like a doable change rather than this overwhelming. So if I said, all right, I usually am the person that's shopping on Christmas Eve, with those last gifts. I'm not going to do that this year. Well, that, I don't know. To me, that might be just a setting yourself up, right? Instead, what you might try to do is say, well, what if I get 50% of my gifts ahead of time, so that we kind of take, I'm a big believer in baby steps, because those baby steps are what really give us the successes to say, okay, I can do this. And so that's, I would say, if somebody's a last minute shopper, and then the other thing, another great little strategy I just thought of, and it happened to me with my neighbors, was I've learned just to keep a couple little gift cards, and I've realized I've kind of let go of having to give everybody big gifts, right? And so I purchased just some little, like $5-10 Starbucks cards, and I have a stack of cards, and then that way, if I was going somewhere, and this was, of course, pre-even pandemic, when I really would go, or somebody invited me over, they were those low-stress ways. So I called it harm reduction, that we may not kind of get rid of all of that stress, but can we dial it down a couple notches? And that goes for even if when you were going to be around people, that you absolutely couldn't stand, right? It's all right, go for a little while. And then, or if you have to be around people that really stress you out, then spend more time around somebody else. But can we modify the situation a little bit to bring that stress down a notch or two? I think the other thing is that people really have to keep up this, what I like to call self-care. and that I kind of liken self-care to the oil in a car. You wouldn't go one day without oil in your engine in your car, and I don't think we should go one day without self-care of some kind to ourselves. So, do you know people like that? All right. Hey, Sean. I don't know if you. Yeah, if you were talking, I couldn't hear you.
My kid shut the modem off, and then I lost internet. so good thing to do with a live show. Yeah, good thing to do. So
especially in a live show talking about stress, right?
You know what? We're being tested. We're being tested, and we're going to leave that in. I don't know what was said because I wasn't on, but we're going to leave it in. So yeah. Anyway, again, my apologies. I don't know what you said after I got disconnected, but yeah, keep going.
Well, I was kind of talking about just really taking, some small steps, not thinking you're going to, kind of run the marathon all in your first year, but how about we just start out with a little 5K to get started?
Yeah. And you'd mentioned about buying little gift cards like here and there, a couple gift cards, throughout the year. And I think it's smart. My wife says, okay, well, we know that like when school starts, we're like, okay, we got to start getting our Christmas list together. And because when we were first married and we had like very young kids, we would wait until November to get all of the presents. We're like, oh my gosh, like we didn't have enough money for that. Like we didn't really really plan, like how many presents do we get? And each kid gets 10 or, whatever. So we didn't really plan what gifts, we just like, what should we get? I'm like, I don't know. And, I think people right now, minus pandemic, but they live paycheck to Monday. People get paid on a Friday and then they live paycheck to Monday. They don't even last them to the next paycheck.
Yeah.
So she said, from now on, we need to little by little, $20, $30, $50. Like we need to be like buying some things for the kids and just stowing gifts away. Because what you'll find is that if you do this, 10 months out of the year and you spend maybe, $100 on whatever, your Christmas is already bought throughout the year. So instead of paying $1,000 for Christmas gifts in 30 days, you're spending $1,000 in Christmas gifts over 10 months, which is a lot better.
Yeah, and it certainly saves you the extra stress on just your finances as well, right?
Yep. Yeah, because you can buy things like if you want to get a credit card or a gift card. If you want to get that one toy that came out in March, like, oh, I know she really wants that. Maybe give it to them as a birthday gift. Maybe their birthday is in April or June or August. So you buy it now, and then you wait a couple months and then give it to them. Some people are like, oh, you want that? Let me just go get that for you. Like, no special occasion, which is fine. But I kind of want to have something to give them. So I have our oldest birthday is in February, which is so crazy because we have a child that was born in November, and then 30 days later is Christmas. Then 2 months later is a birthday, right? So it's like back to back to back to back. We have a child born in April, so once February comes, then we have 2 more months and then another birthday, and then we wait a while. Well, my wife's birthday is in April too, so we have 2 birthdays in April, and then mine's in July, and then in September. And so it's kind of spread out after April, but man, that November, Christmas, February, that's tough.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what do we give him for his birthday? So he's like, screw it, we'll just give him some money and go buy whatever he wants. That's pretty much been his birthday forever. Like, here's some money because you just got away from Christmas,
I don't know about you, but quite honestly, when I was growing up, I mean, I loved the presents, but the one thing that I really looked forward to was I had an aunt and an uncle who would give us $50. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, cash, like I love the money.
hmm Yep, absolutely, 100%. So as we start to close the show, I want to give the listeners some really good takeaways, because there's always that one aunt or that grandparent or a family member that every Christmas dinner they bring up the past, and there's a lot of animosity sometimes during Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinners, and sometimes these relatives only come around for the holidays, and they're like, I know your aunt, grandma, uncle, whoever, cousin, whatever, is going to start picking fights, and I know they're going to argue. It's like, let's just get through the holidays, and then they'll go away, and then, right? So what can we give to the listeners?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is that it takes two people to dance. So as long as, if you're getting invited, that you yourself, now you can't control other people, right? That's really another important realization, that you aren't going to be able to control the situation, even though you would like to. And sometimes the magic words I've always encouraged people to say is, instead of saying, you know what, I don't want to talk about this right now, or we shouldn't be talking about this, is to use the word, let's, because you put that word in there, is I'm not able to talk about this anymore right now. So if you got somebody that's really, really pushing you, you could just say, I'm not able. It's not that I don't want to, because when people think you don't want to, guess what? They're going to push you even harder.
Oh, yeah.
But it's that word, just, I'm not able to discuss it any further right now, because I think that's the other key word, is right now. And if it's starting to get to you, excuse yourself, go to the bathroom, take a couple really deep breaths, and then do some jumping jacks or something like that. Because what you've just done is you've stopped the level from rising. And then by doing something active, you've actually just let a little bit more of that stress out, that pressure. So when you walk back out and it starts to kind of escalate again, you might need to make a couple trips just to kind of be able to do that care for yourself.
That's really, really good. I used to argue with people, and I kind of still do, because I really believe this, but I used to argue all the time when I smoked that, well, that's a stress reliever. It has all the components of stress. They're like, a stress relief, and they're like, no, smoking is not healthy for you. I'm like, absolutely it is. Smoking is absolutely healthy for you. Here's why. You get stressed out, what do? You remove yourself from the situation. Step one.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Right? Step one, you remove yourself from the situation. Step two, you exercised, because most pissed off people and stressed out people are pacing back and forth. So you're exercising. You're breathing, because you have to inhale and exhale on the cigarette.
Yep.
So you're breathing. And then number four, usually pissed off smoking people don't smoke alone. They want to engage with other people who are just as pissed off as them. So now you're talking to somebody about why you're pissed off, and you're ranting about it. It has the
you're letting it out.
major components, and you're letting it out. You literally, as a smoker, have a built-in stress relief system. It's just
Sean,
so happened that you're smoking carcinogens, but it has all the components.
Well, and actually, I wrote a book, The Benefits of Smoking, Why It's So Hard to Quit and What You Can Do About It. And that was exactly one of your points were
That's
exactly
awesome.
A couple of the few I spoke of.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that was a book. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've argued with people for years about this. For years I've argued about this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And quite honestly, although it's not my most favorite tool, you know what? If it's going to bring your blood pressure down for the moment being, then that's harm reduction. For
sure. So before we close, I just want to mention very quickly that you wrote a book that really sparked something in me, and I was like, no way. So talk about your newest book, and and how that has kind of come about.
Yeah. So my newest book was How to Tame Your COVID Stress Monster. And in 3 simple steps.
Okay.
Yeah, and it actually came about because I had to do chemotherapy during COVID, and
Wow.
I wasn't able to go to work at the hospital. And back in March and April, I just felt like I wanted to contribute in some way. So I put together this workshop that I did from some different organizations, and it was so well received that I decided, this summer, it's like, you know what, I'm going to put that into a book, and that's really how it came to be.
That's so good. And where can people get it?
People can get it actually anywhere, even your local bookstore, because if they don't have it, they can order it for you, and get it very quickly for you.
Oh,
if
awesome.
Anybody goes to a local bookstore anymore. I actually would love to. I haven't since the whole COVID thing started, and my immune system's a little compromised because of the chemo, but I can't wait to the day when I can go back.
Yeah, I usually buy all my books on Amazon. They come in like 2, 3, maybe 4 days. I just usually order books on Amazon. I don't really order a lot on Amazon, but when I do order a book, first thing I go is Amazon, because I grew up when Amazon was only for books, and now they sell everything else. But yeah, I go to Amazon for books, and then I just look at other places for other stuff. But I think it's super cool that you took the pandemic and wrote a book about how to, relieve your stress, especially a lot of people losing jobs. And I know it's tough for Christmas, and people are, how do I pay for Christmas gifts? And, they're going to use the pandemic like, sorry, there's a pandemic. We don't have a lot of money. Like, I know that's going to be the topic of conversations. Well, a lot of stores are closing, and, we don't really have a lot of money. And, it's tough. Like, nobody loves this. No one's thriving in this unless you're an introvert or a homeschooler. No one's thriving in the pandemic, But I just think it's super cool that you took the opportunity to use it to teach about stress and how to handle that stress, because a lot of people right now need it really bad.
Yeah. It you know what? It was really important to me, and because I'd never really, shared the information I put together on my workshop, I just thought it would be a great, simple way for people to do. And what's great about my books are they're very visual. So it's not like paragraphs. I use different kinds of fonts and images and sizes so that it becomes more of a visual read than it is necessarily a just, paragraph after paragraph after paragraph kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So, that's super good. Super good. Well, Carol, this has absolutely been amazing content. Something we didn't cover real quick that I think is good to cover are the types of stress, which I learned a long time ago is eustress and distress. Distress meaning bad, eustress meaning good stress, like weddings, birth, retirements. These are all kind of birthdays. Like, these are all good. I just look at the holidays as eustress. Like, I love, like, Christmas is my favorite holiday for many reasons. It doesn't really have anything to do with presents, but it's just, it truly is, to me, the most beautiful, the most wonderful time of year, because, people love the snow, and you're snowboarding and sledding and having fun. Families come together. There's really amazing food. I can't name one other holiday where there's such amazing food to eat for Thanksgiving and Christmas. But I think maybe it's the culmination of the end of the year. Maybe like you sit down and you have that eggnog, or you have whatever your family does. Everybody has their traditions, which is what I love the most. My grandfather, before he passed, was huge into family traditions. And I just really miss doing those family traditions the way we used to. And, I think that's what really drew me to, like, the Christmas, Thanksgiving, Christmas because family's together, and it's really the traditions that you have as a collective that I love.
Yeah, I just listening to you, I could hear that in your voice and thinking, well, yeah, because if you think about it, it's been passed down through generations in your family too.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again for being on the show. If someone wants to get a hold of you or wants to figure out how to get rid of some of their stress, if they got job stress, COVID stress, holiday stress, any kind of stress, what's the best way to learn more about you and what you offer?
Well, you know what? The easiest place for people to do that would be go to reducestressfast.com. I wanted to keep it really simple, because my name's a little hard to spell. So I was like, well, that should do it. And, they can get in touch with me, find out a little bit more of what I do. And I actually have some great resources there for people, too, that they could start, just really using immediately.
reducestressfast.com. Outstanding. We'll add that to the show notes so that we can get everybody hooked up with that. And again, I wish you the best holiday possible. Hope everyone has a Merry, Merry Christmas. And Carol, I just wish you the best going into 2021.
Thank you, Sean. It's been great here. I'm so glad, to have this opportunity to be with you and just, share with your audience.
Absolutely. Honored to have you on the show. Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest impacting the world around her. If anything with our conversation today resonated with you, please reach out to the ultimate stress expert, Carol Rickard, who has been doing this for over 30 years, 25 books published. She is amazing at what she does, overcoming cancer, and now she's here to tell you and to show you exactly how to reduce your stress fast. Go to reducestressfast.com. Her Facebook and LinkedIn link is right there in the show notes. Click on those, send her a friend request, and don't forget to subscribe to Life Transformation Radio. As I always say in close, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until the next episode, live an amazing life and have a Merry, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.